Right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of the Dysfunctional Fitness podcast. You are joined today by myself, Matthew Hosking, and my good friend and co-host, Ben Bodycum. We basically started this podcast as a vehicle to discuss, issues around the CrossFit space, but more specifically, the ongoings in the UK scene and European scene, as we feel like they're quite underrepresented by CrossFit media. So we're basically just doing CrossFit's work for them. A little bit about myself. I've been doing CrossFit for about 5 years, a bit on and off with the COVID times. But during that time, I joined CrossFit BFG about 3 years ago. That's where I met Ben for the first time. Unfortunately, I was only there for about 3 months until COVID hit. Then I was at home. And then back in my final year at uni last year, I rejoined CrossFit BFG for a good 7 to 8 months, where me and Ben fostered a lovely friendship, battling each other at CrossFit quizzes, hosted by Dan Wagner. I like to say I took the win most of the times. I think I hold the crown still, but I know Ben will be eager to take it back sometime. So we'll have to set up a match and get Dan involved again as a quiz master. But yeah, I'll pass over to Ben so he can introduce himself. Benjamin, take the floor.
I appreciate it. So I've been doing CrossFit for about 6 years at this point. I started around when BFG opened, so I've pretty much only been a member at BFG. I did have a little bit of time at CrossFit Leicester before that, so have some exposure to different gyms, but I started by being passionate about the sport and enjoying the sport. You know, I'd be up on those summer nights in August in 2013, 2014, watching Froning continue to dominate at the games.
The glory days, the glory days.
The glory days, the good old days where CrossFit was CrossFit and everything was short, fast and heavy. And there wasn't any running. Yeah, there was no technique, there was no running. It was great. I miss it. I really, really miss it. But now, as sort of Matthew said, I'm really interested in the sport. I enjoy going to competitions. Not as much taking part. I definitely don't really have the caliber to do that. I'm very much a bubble quarterfinals athlete, but really excited to sort of start this and explore it. And I think, you know, if I look back to when I first started doing Fran in my bedroom, 7 or 8 years ago, I didn't think I'd ever be sitting on a podcast talking about CrossFit, but here we are.
Right, so through this first episode, we are basically going to outline the CrossFit season. Obviously, those who are in the CrossFit space and have been doing it for a while know about this, but for any new listeners, we'll just give a quick overview of how things work, and then we're going to do a little deep dive into the first stage, which is the Open, coming up, technically starting in a few days. So basically the way the season works is we start off a worldwide Open. That is open to literally anyone, anywhere. You can sign up, you pay a little fee if you want to upload scores online, and there's just one workout a week for 3 weeks at the moment. That's the current format. It gets announced on a Thursday evening for UK people, and then you have till on Monday evening to attempt it as many times as you want, and then upload your score. And then after those 3 weeks, there will be a cut line for the top 10% in your region. So us being the UK, we are in Europe. So if you make that top 10% in Europe, you then are allowed to basically move forward to the next stage, which is called the quarterfinals. From there, you sign up for the quarterfinals if you wish to participate in that. And then that is a 3 to 4 day competition window on which it's still an online format, but instead of the Open where you get just one workout a week, you get 5 workouts to complete over those few days. The way they're running it this year is that you are only going to get access to 2 on one day and have to do that within, I believe, probably a 24-hour period and upload those scores, rather than the last 2 years you had access to all 5 and you could basically game the system a bit. So then from there, once scores are uploaded, there will be another cut line for those going to the semi-finals. For Europe, it will be top 60, not percent, literally just top 60 as a number from that top 10%. And those people get an invite to the next stage, which is the semi-finals. This year, that's been hosted in Berlin on the European side. and that top 60 there will battle it out for a spot at the CrossFit Games, which the number of spots is up in the air at the moment. There's at least 10, and then based off a new worldwide ranking system, we'll be allocated a few more spots, probably another 2 or 3. So there could be about, I think, 12 to 13 spots for Europe. And from there, if you get one of those spots, you are made it to CrossFit Games, and you're technically one of the 40 fittest people on earth. And then you will fly out to Madison to compete for a week. In the sunshine. And that's it, really.
Well,
but yeah, so we're
not as funny as it used to be in Carson, California, I don't think.
True. Not nowhere near as sunny. But when I went out there in 2018, I got really burnt, not gonna lie. So I'm actually, it's hot on that turf field. I can relate to the athletes when they talk about it in the documentaries. No fitness, I can relate to the heat burn.
Yeah, I think that's more a reflection of your skin than necessarily how hot it was.
You're not wrong. Right, so as the first stage is the Open, and that is coming up in a few days, we're just going to cover a few people from the UK who you might want to look out for on the leaderboards in the coming weeks. So we're going to start off with the men, and I'm just going to run through the top 10 from last year, as there'll be a few names that some of you will recognise, some you might not recognise. So in first place last year, we had Connor Pinnington. That was a surprise name. No, I can't, speak for myself. I didn't really know who he was. I'm sure a lot of other people didn't know who he was. Just a young lad from the Isle of Man, but he did very well. Took the win. Fair play to him. I don't think he backed it up that well in the quarters, but that's fine. He's still improved. He might do that this year. In second place, we had a very popular name, Reggie Fasser, who is also a semi-final level athlete. A lot of you listening to this probably know who he is. Then in third, we had Joshua Chalmer, who's on a team with Elliot Simmons, who actually also made it to semis, but he is not competing this year because he's coming back from injury. Then in fifth place, we had Evander Harewood. Sixth place, Liam Hogan. Seventh place, Harry Lightfoot. Eighth place, we had Big Zach George from CrossFit BFG. He also made it to semis. In ninth place, we have Oleg Lysenko. Is that how you pronounce it, Ben?
I believe so, yeah.
All right, cool. And then 10th place, we had Jack Turner. Just some notable names who weren't in that top 10, but I think you might want to follow on the leaderboards in the coming weeks. We had Dan Tai. He came 69th last year. Looking through his stats, quite surprised about his week 1 performance. Maybe that was either him just not being fully fit, or as they say, the Open doesn't matter that much anymore. So maybe he took that quite literally and just sandbagged the first event. But I'd expect to see him quite high up this season, at least top 20 in the UK. And then we also had some names of Tom Watson and Maurice Newman. Tom Watson did very well at a European Champs this past year, RIP, the worst run event in the history of CrossFit. And Maurice Newman has been on a rampage doing almost every competition under the sun, plus I believe like triathlons or Ironmans. I think fairly new name on the scene, but he seems like he's here to stay for a bit and make a name for himself. Ben, is there anything you would like to add to the men's side?
I think highlighting Dan Tai is probably a really good shout. If you look at his quarterfinal performance last year, which is obviously the stage after the Open, he had a crazy high score across every single workout. And it was just one workout that he came down in, which is the rope climb, wall ball, and shuttle workout, which for those of you who weren't active in the space at that point or weren't necessarily following news that closely, there was a lot of controversy surrounding due to the fact that one shuttle run was there and back again. And so I think there was an understanding amongst a lot of people that it was just there. So essentially what you had was a lot of people doing half the work on the runs and it not being picked up by CrossFit. So you still had people who technically won that workout worldwide, whose scores were nigh on impossible and didn't necessarily reflect their fitness level, sitting really high up. So I know that Dan was pretty aggrieved about that. After he was also planning to go team last year. They were training out in Denmark, himself, his partner Saf, and a couple of others. But unfortunately, one of their team members ended up having to go in for surgery. So I think there was a lot going on. So I think a little bit more of a stable 2023 should be a really good position for him. A couple of other people we haven't mentioned. Sammy Wright made it to semi-finals last year.
He did.
Yeah, he made it. It was at Strength and Depth. He was the fourth British guy at SID. So there were four individuals at semi-finals altogether. That was Reggie Fassett, Elliot Simmons, Zach George, and Sammy Wright. So excited to see what he can do this year. There's a couple of other names I wanted to call out as well. We haven't referenced David Charunki. He had a really strong off-season. Podiumed at Madrid, which is a relatively high standard of competition. So I'm excited to see what he can do this year going into it. And a couple of other names who had some really strong quarterfinals placements, but not consistent, I would say. Ben Hathaway competing out of Second City CrossFit, which is in Birmingham. He had a couple of top 100 performances, but wasn't able to back it up across the board. Toby Buckland as well threw up some crazy numbers from the strength side of things. So really interested to see if he's been able to bring up those other parts of his game and become a more balanced athlete, essentially. But seeing as he hit a 140 kilo block snatch the other day, I think he hasn't lost any strength, certainly. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, that guy does not need to work on strength, put it that way.
No.
Right, are you good with the men then?
Yeah. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Obviously with Zach going team, with Elliot injured, Josh Sharma still staying on a team, that covers some of what you'd expect to be the top performers from the UK. So that there appears to be some gaps opening up, and I think particularly when we start to look at the women, you start to think, okay, why have we only got 4 men in the top 60 at semi-finals?
I'll just argue it's not good enough. There's a lot of other Europeans are just better.
Yeah, very true.
Quite simple, really.
Damage from Mr. Hosking there, and a very aggressive assessment.
I mean, you
of his own ability
put myself in that same bucket. Okay, so now moving on to the ladies to look out for this season. We shall run through the top 10 from last year's Open. So we had in first place Amy Kringle. I'm sure many of you know who she is if you follow the space. She also made it to semi-finals. Then second place, we had Lucy Campbell. Obviously, great finish at the games last year. I believe it was 16th place. She also went, obviously, to semis. Then in third, we had Georgia Davenport. Fourth, Helena Collins. Fifth place, Ella Wilkinson. But she is announced she will not be competing this season because of focusing on her studies at uni. Sixth place, we had Sam Briggs. But she'll also be not competing because she is retired. Seventh place, we had Sapphire Goddard, who also made it to semis. Eighth place, we had Madeline Harris, who I believe is going team with CrossFit Aylesbury. Ninth place, we had Taylor Howe, who also made it to semis. And in 10th place, we had Lois Smith. Some notable names I believe you should look out for is Jennifer Muir. She came 24th last year, and this year it seems like she's made some good progress in the off-season, so she'll be one to watch in the next few weeks. We also have Megan Lovegrove, who made it to semis. We have Evie Hollis, who made it to semis. And we also have Hannah Phipson, who made it to semis. So those are some of the ladies who weren't in the top 10 in the Open, but actually made it to semis post quarterfinals. Ben, any addition to that?
I think the thing that we probably struggle with here is just knowing who's going to go team, who's going to go individual. Because last year, I think it was in total, there were 11 females who actually qualified for semi-finals. But as you've already mentioned, people like Matt Harris, people like Helena Collins, ended up going onto teams. We'll come on to discuss the teams a little bit later. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of those can make it back, and how many of those are actively competing again? You know, I think what's going to be we're all aware of how competitive the Europe region is, from particularly on the female side. So trying to see, okay, how many game spots are there going to be? It's all in one big semi-final, which previous years it has never been. It's always been multiple semi-finals with 5 spots in each. Now it's just, it's a little bit of an unknown. We know there's going to be at least 10, but could there be more than that? Like, who knows at this point? It all depends on how everyone performs. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many of the British girls are going to be able to push to make it to semi-finals in particular, which is more what I'm looking at. I think Amy's had a fairly strong off-season competing in Dubai and Wadapalooza. Taylor had some surgery middle part of last year, but then came back and was hitting crazy big numbers at Dubai. So she should be in a really good position going forward. I know Saf's done some competitions as well. And yeah, I think we're sort of, Lucy is in a great position. She appears to have just been hammering her weaknesses over the off season. So really excited to see how that pays off for her going forward.
Right, guys, we're going to now be moving on to some team. So I'll say Ben, that's more of his speciality than me. So he's going to take the floor and guide you through the team structure and then some people to look out for.
So we've had many different iterations of team over the years with CrossFit. We started out with 6-person teams, then it moved to 4, with the original being that it's an affiliate cup is what it's meant to be. So originally it was, okay, everyone has to be a member at your gym. Last year there was some, and those were the rules for last year, 4-person team, everyone is a member of that affiliate and has to live within 100 miles of that affiliate. Obviously, for countries like the UK, it's very easy to live within 100 miles of an affiliate. But for countries like the US, where, you know, it's a much bigger country, it's obviously slightly different for them and can be a little bit more difficult to form teams. What's happened this year is that now all you have to do as a team is complete the open workouts at the affiliate that you want to be a part of a team for. So that does mean that I think we're shifting back a little. There's less stringent on teams, so you can still live wherever and compete under a particular affiliate, which I think makes the team competition a little bit more exciting. It makes things a little bit easier. There were a number of issues last year with teams not all being necessarily members, not living in the right place, not doing the right things, which caused a number of teams just not be able to compete. There was some controversy around. But looking for the UK, we only actually had one team make it to the games last year, and that was 80/20 CrossFit out of Northern Ireland. But we did have a number of other teams actually qualify, but not be able to make it due to a couple of drug sanctions. So Aylesbury had one of their athletes test positive, as did CrossFit Mayflower had one of their athletes test positive as well. So they didn't end up sending a team to the games. But overall, if we look at the total number of teams that made it through to quarterfinals, there were, I think it was 8 in total that ended up there. And we're sort of expecting those types of teams to make it back again. Blueprint AOD were in a qualifying position, but one of their athletes popped his hamstring in the middle of, I think it was the penultimate event, like running across the finish line. It's honestly one of the most heartbreaking things to watch, because you watch it go, and yeah, you can see that he knows that that's it done. But really excited to see them go again this year and make it back to the games, because I think they qualified in 2021 as well. West Leeds CrossFit made it as well. You referenced Jack Turner earlier, who came 10th in the Open. He was on their team roster last year. Interested to see if they try again and try to make it. CrossFit Aylesbury, who we've already referenced, are going again after placing, I think it was originally they placed fourth in at Strength and Depth last year. They would have they've changed their team roster, obviously, to accommodate the ban to Mike, and they're looking to make it again. And seeing how they work together, I'm pretty excited to see them push for it and try and make it again. CrossFit Mayflower was the other team who were going to get a backfill spot for Aylesbury because they were sixth and top 5 teams go, but ended up not getting it because the athlete had tested positive. Again, we've mentioned Helena Collins. Not entirely sure what that team is looking like for this year and if they're going to try and put another team in. One team that I am really excited to see straight after their inspiring performance at Strength in Depth Origins this month, a couple of weeks back, whenever it was, is Surbiton / Motion Training. So they were fourth at the Games in 2021 with a slightly different team makeup. So with Harrison and Grace, they've now brought in Tom Watson and Karis Webster, so 2 UK athletes. I'm really interested to see how they're able to gel together and how they're able to work together. Harrison's got a crazy amount of team experience. I think he's done 7 different teams, all of them making regionals and a couple of them making the Games as well, along with Grace as well. So excited to see if adding in Tom Watson and Karis Webster is just going to help them get to that level as well. There was a couple of others that made it to quarterfinals as well. CrossFit Bladen, CrossFit Rotherham, and Witham as well. Witham always able to pull in some teams. And then in terms of new teams, I haven't seen many announced in terms of like people posting stuff on social media. Like the wider European side of things, we're seeing some big super teams come in, like Sam Stewart joining the Prepared team as an example. Andre Houdet making up his own team with no shortcuts, his training program. But there is one team that I do know a little bit about. BFG and team training programming coming together. So that's Zach, George, Will Kane, Nicole Crouch, and Janie Garrett coming together to form a team. Will has always been a really strong CrossFitter. So excited to see, like, one of the fittest guys. If you look at he was 35 last year or 36. So he tried to make it through age groups, and some of the scores that he put up were really, really good. So excited to see what that team can do this season as well.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Right, so now we're just going to move on to some fun little picks. So we're going to pick a winner for the Open in the UK, in Europe, and worldwide. So I'll start off with the UK winners. So I believe this year we're going to see Reggie Fasser take the win on the men's side, and on the ladies' side, it was a toss-up between Lucy Campbell and Amy Kringle. But if I think this person's healthy and fit, they're going to take the win, and that's going to be Lucy Campbell. Ben, what about you?
For the UK, I think that we're going to see Reggie win it on the men's side, and I think that on the women's side, we will see Amy win it.
Oh, I mean, it is basically between Amy and Lucy based off last year. So we'll just see who.
I think Taylor's got a chance to get it.
Yeah,
I think had
Ben, everyone's got a chance. I've got a chance. It's a slim chance, but
I don't have a chance. Come on.
Yeah, you do.
I think had they changed the scoring system whereby they were weighting the Open a little bit more, people would put more effort into it. But at the end of the day, like, whether you finish like top 1,000 or top 500, like, you get the same score out of it that feeds into your overall worldwide ranking. So,
for the worldwide rankings,
yeah. So I don't see people putting as much emphasis on it as they have done, and instead just coming in, do the Open, carry on with their day of training, like not making a big deal about it, not repeating it. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it at the moment.
I agree. Right, we'll go on to European winners. So I think on the women's side, we're going to see Emma McQuaid take the win. And the men's side, we're going to see Janikowski. Emma McQuaid and Janikowski are both built for the Open pretty much. Just that quick, high turnover rate type workouts. They've proved it with wins in past events, and I don't see any signs of them slowing down soon. And I don't think anyone up there has done enough for me to put them above those two picks for a win. So, yeah, that's who I've gone for. Ben?
On the men's side, I think that we will see Alex Catoulis win it. As long as there's dumbbell snatches and burpee box jump overs, he'll win it. And then on the women's side, I think Matilda Garns might do it.
I did think that. That did come to mind.
The Norwegians are, and this is something that I picked out of the SID quarterfinal, especially on the team side. So the top 10 teams were 3 of them were from Norway, 4 from the UK, 2 from Denmark, and 1 from Sweden. That was pre-disqualification. But to me, it's just for those of you who don't know, Norway prioritizes the International Functional Fitness competition and gives state funding to athletes. So they've got a huge team. They continuously win the world championships in that sport, which is a similar-ish sport to CrossFit. So I'm expecting us to just see Norway just keep coming up and keep cropping up as a country that's sending some really high-caliber athletes out. So yeah, I'm going to go with Matilda Garns and Alex Catoulis.
The Alex Catoulis shout is a bit interesting because I feel like if it doesn't have box jumps, wall walks, or dumbbell snatch, he ain't winning. Especially compared to Janikowski. Like if you just look at their scores last year, Koski absolutely smoked him in 22.2 and 22.3, and Alex Catoulis did smash Janikowski in the first one, but odds are we're not going to see that type of test on the first week again. So it'll be interesting.
We've had not to pre-jump what we're saying, but we've had dumbbell snatch, burpee box jump over, or dumbbell snatch, box jump over combination for the past 2 years.
We have indeed. So exactly. So you've just proven my point, as I just said.
It's almost like we're just continuing. We're going to see something similar to that.
If we do.
Yeah, I know. I'm not ready for 150 dumbbell snatches again.
Okay, now we're going to move on to a worldwide pick for the Open. So I'll start with the ladies, and I think, pretty obvious pick, Mal O'Brien is going to win the CrossFit Open worldwide. Last year, she came second, first. Absolutely crushed it. Don't see any signs of her slowing down, and I wouldn't be surprised if she won all 3 this year. If there's a heavy barbell, she probably won't win that one. Maybe if it's like a 2-parter. But anything, gymnastics, low skill, high tempo, she's just going to crush it. So, I think she's going to take an easy dub and an easy $10,000. Ben, your pick?
10,000? I thought it was only 2,000. I thought it was 2023.
What, for a win?
The Open prize winning.
I think if you win overall, you get like $10,000.
Oh, is that just for winning an event?
No, overall. Oh yeah, maybe for an event. If you you might get you might get a few bucks if you win the individual workout. But I believe if you win the Open overall, it's at least 10,000. It might be 15. It's definitely 10 to 15 if you win the Worldwide Open, which is not too shabby.
No, it just completely changes how I'm viewing this Open. Like, I might take it seriously now.
I was going to say, you might have a chance.
I think on the women's side, it's hard to look past Mal. Like, she's in sort of that doorway fitness kind of thing that the Open tends to be, which is just, very much emphasizes range of motion and speed of movement. I don't really see how she's going to get beaten, to be honest.
I
So
tell you
yeah,
who really surprised me when you're looking at the leaderboard from last year, Hayley Adams in third place. I know she's fit, but third place in the Open, and you talk about like doorway fitness. I wouldn't put her as a doorway fitness type athlete. She's more like the ones at the games, like, you know, the Capital, where it's like a long sludge type event. But yeah, third place in the Open, that is pretty impressive. And taking 16th in the deadlift one, okay, obviously it's not max strength, but you still had to be fairly strong and enduring to put up a good score. And for her to come 16th in that was actually very, very surprising.
I think a dark horse pick, Jamie Simmons. Jamie Simmons always does well in the Open. She's back at full fitness this year, so that's my dark horse. But yeah, we'll leave it there for now.
All right. Well, if you're going to do a dark horse, I'll do a dark horse. Annika Greer.
Nice.
She's built for the Open. Again, small, short range of motion, very fit, obviously. 16th last year. And big announcement, she started training with Training Think Tank. And the OG, Max El Haj, as a new coach. I think that's a pretty interesting, combo of athlete coach. I suppose it almost like it's like replacing, because obviously Noah's in his last year, and Noah, I suppose, fit that type of athlete mold, a bit more out there compared to like Travis, and then Annika's probably more the female version, I suppose. So it'll be interesting how they get on this season, and she's still extremely young and getting better. So yeah, would not be surprised to see her be up there.
Yeah, most definitely. Just depends if she can upload her videos in time.
I was literally going to make that joke, but I thought it'd be bad. So well done. You made the bad joke for me.
That's what I'm here for. I say what we're both thinking.
Such a good wavelength. You recycle my jokes and even use. Right. Okay. We'll move on to the men picks. So Ben, do you want to start for the men this time?
Yeah. I think the men is always dominated by the Americans. And I find it quite hard.
That was the announcement. That's the reason.
Yeah.
The whole thing is US centric. We all know this. Rigged from the start.
I find it hard to look past Saxon again. Like, it's his kind of thing. He should just absolutely smash it. He always does. I think he won quarterfinals the year before as well for the US. So he loves an online competition.
Loves an online competition.
And I think being in East Nashville and training with the Proven Crew, like, you get so much data on what a good time and what a good score is, that it means that you're instantly, like, you can raise your game up a level so much. Obviously, they won't have Tia pushing them this year, but yeah, I think he'll do quite well.
Nice. Right. Well, I am stuck because originally I was going to pick the mullet man, Justin Medeiros, to take the win. He was very, very close to Saxon last year. Pretty much no real difference between the top five, really. It was actually very close on points. But the man behind him, he's been on a mission. Colton Mertens. Talk about doorway fitness. No one is built like that man. Zero range of motion. Perfect for the Open. Only thing is, if my Open prediction that I pick in the next section is true, he might struggle a bit. So it might not work that well. So I can't, it's hard to pick. Do I want to be right about my Open predictions, or to be right about the winner of the Worldwide Open? But I am going to fall back on Justin. He is obviously the reigning fittest man on earth. But I'll give him something this year, because I don't think he's actually going to win the games. So I'll give him one win for the season. And then, yeah, dark horse. I don't want to pick. Dark horse, Jake Berman. He's another one who I think is a man on the mission. I think he's one of the most actually interesting athletes to follow, even though he hardly puts anything out there. I believe his Instagram account's actually private now as well, so you can't even follow him. And he's obviously, if anyone knows the story, he's been very, very close to making the games quite a few times, especially last season. He finished 6th at semis by literally 1 or 2 points. If he had lunged, it was probably 2 seconds faster across the finish line, and he would have made it. And then at last chance qualifier, he also missed out by 1 or 2 points. And mathematically, I think if he'd gone it was like 5 foot more on the handstand walk workout, the row into the handstand walk, he would have made it as well. And it's been a bit like that the last few seasons. So I think he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. And I would not be surprised for him to put up some good scores in the Open.
Did I do a dark horse?
Not for the men, no.
Not for the men?
No.
All right. Easy one. Scott Tetlow.
Yeah, well, that's Colton Merton's 2.0.
Yeah, I know. Range of motion king.
Did you watch their Fit Wars battle?
I did not. Was it?
It was, well, they literally designed the workout for them. So it was, I believe it was something like I can't remember the time domain. It was about 10 minutes of burpee ring muscle ups and squat cleans. And it was one of those ones where like the burpee ring muscle up reps, I believe, went up, or maybe they said the same, but then the squat clean reps decreased, but the weight came up. I believe Colton took the dub, I think. But it was a battle of zero range of motion.
Yeah, it was a 9-minute AMRAP.
Yeah, that's it.
15 squat cleans at 135, which is 61.
Yeah.
6 burpee ring muscle ups, 12 squat cleans at 102.5, 6 burpee ring muscle ups, 9 squat cleans at 275, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, is 125. And AMRAP burpee ring muscle ups in remaining time. Obviously, those are the men's scores. Merton's got 19 in that. So yeah,
it's big. I think it was quite close though. I think they were about 5 reps away from each other. Because I think what happened was, if you watch it back, I believe Scott Tetlow went out with like an unbroken touch and go set on the first barbell.
Terrible,
or at least like, yeah. And yeah, I think he got a bit punished for that. Cool. Okay, we're now just going to have a bit of fun as the Open starts in a few days. We are going to use our big brains and try predict the first Open workout of 2023. Yeah, can't wait to be way off the mark, but we'll give it our best shot. So Ben, why don't you give us your version of 23.1?
So I think it's going to be an 18-minute AMRAP of 5 toes to bar, 10 dumbbell hang clean and jerks, and 15 burpees over dumbbell.
Interesting. So a little spin-off, I believe 18.1, which was, I can't remember what the reps were, but it was the same toes to bar, hang clean and jerk, and row, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, was double under, not row.
No, it was definitely row. It was 100% row.
Yeah. No, sorry, I take it back. Right, that's right. 1-0 on the score sheet. Don't worry.
1. I only know that because 18.1 was my first ever CrossFit workout, but I did do it scaled. So imagine me doing knee raises, I think a 15 kg dumbbell, and rowing at probably like 800 calories per hour on the rower pace. And always starting each set with my right hand, so my right arm was absolutely pumped compared to my left by the end of it. So those are the days. That was a peak of my career, to be fair. And we also did it in class at TTZ the other day for the members, so they got a taste, and that was 20 minutes long as well.
Yeah, we had, I did a variation on it where we changed the toes to bar so it was essentially 2 rounds. We changed the toes to bar for chest to bar, and the dumbbell hang clean jerk for hang dumbbell snatch. And it was very much just a grip workout.
Yeah, it's just all grip.
It's just, how do you manage your grip through that?
I wouldn't even say it's that, like, it's a bit aerobic, obviously, but it's just honestly grip for that length of time.
I think I speak for both of us when I both say that we are both grip limited athletes. So please make sure there is no grip involved for the whole of the Open, please and thank you.
Yeah, I have 0 grip. Cool. Right, that's interesting. So I'll pick mine then. So I think we are going to see a repeat, and I think it's going to be a repeat of 19.1, which was the 15-minute AMRAP of 19 cal row and 19 wall balls. Only twist, you never know, because of the year, they might change the reps to 23 and 23 if they're trying to be cute. I mean, it won't make a difference for the same time domain because it's still the same reps. Obviously, the sets itself will be a bit deeper, like denser, so it might make it a touch tougher. but there'll be less transitions at the same time. So even if it is that type of rep scheme, I think the scores will be pretty similar. The reasons for picking that is, well, one, low barrier to entry. Anyone can hop on a rower and do a few wall balls. So very simple skills. It won't hopefully deter too many people. And then there'll still be a good separation value between the best of the best and just your average gym goer, just because you need to be extremely fit if you want to put up a good score on that, just pure work capacity. And then digging into, this is like more just projection on my behalf, but the 4 people they've asked to come do the announcement performed very well worldwide on this workout back in the day. So we had Gabby Mogawa, who back then in 2019 came 33rd in the world with 337 reps. We had Laura Horvath, who came 16th in the world with 343 reps. We had BKG, who came 5th in the world with 399 reps. And we had a very raw newbie, Lazar Dukic, who did come 1,266th in the world, but this is a different Lazar Dukic now. And I think those 3 with him, I think I would not be surprised if they bring that workout out. Fits into their capacity very well. And yeah, I think it'd be a good watch.
I think that our repeat will come later.
Interesting.
I think it will come in workout 3. But
workout 3.
You have to tune in next time to find out what I think it will be.
Exactly. I think repeat is, well, again, we'll have to find out what happens on week 1, but I think if it's not this one, I think repeat will be week 2. I think it's going to involve a barbell. Okay, well, that is coming to the end of the show. We just got a bit of news that we might want to break down, and then that'll be that. So for those in the space, they might have seen that SID have made a big announcement that coming in, I believe it's July the 14th to the 16th, is the UK Championships. Now, from my understanding, it's ideally going to be a big event for all, CrossFitters to take it quite seriously in the UK. I'm not sure if it's going to be open to European participation. But by the format, it sounds like it's going to be, well, maybe a 3-day event based on the dates, individual, males, females, and I believe there will be a team competition as well. Quite a cool thing they've put when they put out on their Instagram post is that any semi-final athletes who don't make it to the games will get an automatic spot at the competition, which I think is pretty cool. Just saves the faff of qualifiers, and I believe that's something that a lot of competitions should use for a lot of events, really. But yeah, quite exciting. On their Instagram, they did put on their post that they want to make a quote-unquote games-style experience. So take what you want from that. In my mind, that means possibly a 3-day beatdown of at least 3 events a day, maybe 4, which would be quite cool. Maybe an off-site event. That venue, I believe, does have water access near it, maybe? I'm not sure. Well, at least a run or something, but that could be quite cool. I don't know, Ben, if you've got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's... So if you look across the rest of Europe, there's always been this one event that sort of is the pinnacle of that national... it's a European standard event, but it carries very much like a sort of national... what's the phrase I'm looking for? Like a national standard, like a really high standard, like you want to aim to get to that. You know, for the people who can't make semis, that's the one they want to aim for. So France obviously has the French throwdown. Spain has the Madrid Championship. Germany has the German throwdown. And because SID, strength and depth, has always really been tied up within semi-finals, it's made it a little bit more difficult to sort of separate that out, and they've tried to do it with their RX side of things. But I think just having a sole focus on this competition, not being a semi-final this year, it's the semi-finals being run by CrossFit in Berlin. I'm really excited for what this competition can be. SID do a great job of organizing events and know how to put on really, really good, well-run events, which is a really good thing. There's certainly some money backing it after their merger between them and NFG. So we don't need to worry about what happened with other high caliber UK events that have happened in the past year. So yeah, really excited to see what it turns into, and hopefully turns into very much a celebration of the UK CrossFit community.
Well said. Well said. I agree. Lovely stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first episode in the books. Please forgive any sound quality issues or camera issues. Be kind. Hashtag be kind. We've tried our best.
Accuracies in anything that we've said.
Exactly. There's lots of that. Don't worry about that. You can berate us for that. Yeah, so we'll try our best to improve each episode. We'll take the Mr. Beast model. We'll just reinvest all earnings back into the podcast. And say all earnings, just our hearts and our passion. Zero finance. But yeah, that's the first one in the books. The next one, ideally, we are going to do a recap after the 23.1 announcement. So we'll jump on a call, review the workout, our thoughts, see how far off we were on our predictions, or how close we were. You never know. Could have got on the money. Never happened, but there's a first time for everything. But yeah, that's it. Bye.